Good evening. If you are just joining us, please stay with your screens. What you are about to hear is not a drill. At approximately 6:47 this evening, the Global Asteroid Monitoring Consortium, operating jointly out of facilities in Chile, Hawaii, and the Czech Republic, issued a planetary defense emergency declaration, the first of its kind in recorded human history. The object in question has been designated Asteroid 2025-5K14, a near-Earth body estimated to be approximately 1.3 kilometers in diameter. Its trajectory, confirmed by 17 independent observatories in the last 4 hours, places it on a direct collision course with Earth. Impact is projected to occur in exactly 24 hours and 13 minutes from this moment. We want to be transparent with you. The information is confirmed. ChannelX is not speculating. Our science desk has independently verified the trajectory data with 2 senior astrophysicists who are not affiliated with any government. The object is real, the timeline is real, and we will be here with you every minute of the next 24 hours.
And I want to take a moment before we go any further into the technical details because I think it's important. It is important, San, that we acknowledge what this means for the people watching us right now. All over the world, in apartments and farmhouses and hospital waiting rooms and cars pulled over on highways, people are watching this broadcast or listening to it on their radios, and they are afraid. That fear is not weakness. That fear is love. It is the love of a parent wondering where their children are. It is the love of a grandchild reaching for the phone to call someone far away. We know many of you have already begun calling loved ones. We know many of you cannot get through because the lines are overwhelmed. Please keep trying. And please stay with us because information, real, verified information, is the most important thing we can offer you right now. We are here. We are not going anywhere.
The projected impact zone, as of the last confirmed trajectory calculation issued 40 minutes ago, places the asteroid's entry point over the central North Atlantic Ocean. The object is expected to strike approximately 900 kilometers southwest of the Azores Islands. At one point, 3 kilometers in diameter, traveling at an estimated 22 kilometers per second. The energy release upon impact has been modeled at roughly 50,000 megatons of TNT equivalent. To give that number context, the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated in human history, the Soviet Tsar Bomba, released approximately 50 megatons. We are talking about an event 1,000 times more powerful than that. The immediate blast radius will vaporize everything within a circle of approximately 200 kilometers. The seismic shock wave will be detectable globally. But the more immediate danger, scientists are warning, is the mega tsunami system the impact will generate. Projected to be catastrophic for Atlantic coastlines on multiple continents within 2 to 6 hours of impact.
We are already receiving messages from viewers, and I want to share some of them because I believe they deserve to be heard. A woman named Carla, writing from Lisbon, Portugal, says, "My husband is a fisherman. He left this morning before sunrise. I cannot reach him. I don't know where he is on the water. I am standing on our balcony and looking at the ocean, and I don't know what to do. Carla, we hear you. Portuguese maritime authorities have been alerted, and the Portuguese Navy has confirmed it is actively broadcasting emergency retrieval signals to all vessels at sea. Please try your local Coast Guard number. You are not alone in this, and there are people working right now to bring those sailors home." Another message from a man in Lagos, Nigeria, named Emeka. "Are we safe here? My family is asking me, and I don't know what to tell them." Emeka, Alex will address the West African coastline specifically, but please begin moving inland if you are within 50 kilometers of the Atlantic coast. Please do this now.
That is exactly right, Sierra. Let me address the coastal evacuation picture as clearly as I can. We are now 1 hour and 20 minutes into this crisis, and official evacuation orders have been issued for the following coastal zones: the entire Atlantic seaboard of Portugal and Spain, including Lisbon, Porto, Cadiz, and Huelva. The western coast of Morocco, including Casablanca, Rabat, and Agadir. The Canary Islands. Residents have been ordered to move to the highest interior elevations immediately. Along the Americas, evacuation orders are active for the entire eastern seaboard of the United States, from Miami, Florida, north to Bangor, Maine. The eastern coast of Brazil has been placed under emergency alert, including Salvador, Recife, Fortaleza, and Natal. The Brazilian government has declared a national state of emergency. In total, preliminary estimates suggest that approximately 400 million people live within endangered Atlantic coastal zones. Moving that many people in 24 hours, or rather, in the roughly 16 to 18 hours before coastal inundation reaches them, is beyond any single nation's logistical capability. This is a crisis of a scale that has no precedent.
And let me tell you what that looks like on the ground right now, because the numbers can distance us from what is actually happening. In Miami, Florida, Interstate 95 northbound has been at a complete standstill for the past 45 minutes. Emergency services are reporting that fuel stations have been overwhelmed and many are already running dry. Families are abandoning cars on highways and walking. In Lisbon, the government's emergency broadcast ordered residents inland before the highway system could accommodate the demand, and police are reporting that people are simply walking in columns. Families with children, elderly residents in wheelchairs being pushed by neighbors, heading east on foot toward higher ground. In Recife, Brazil, a hospital was forced to begin an emergency patient transfer under generator power after the city's main power grid failed under the sudden demand surge. Doctors and nurses are carrying patients on stretchers to waiting ambulances. This is what 400 million people in motion looks like. It is terrifying, and it is also, in the truest sense of the word, breathtaking, because of how quickly ordinary people have transformed into communities helping one another move towards safety.
We are now 2 hours and 40 minutes into this broadcast and into this crisis. I want to update the infrastructure situation globally. Multiple major international airports have suspended commercial operations. London Heathrow, Lisbon. Humberto Delgado, New York's John F. Kennedy, Boston Logan, and Miami International have all halted standard flights. Military and emergency services are now the only aircraft operating out of coastal Atlantic airports, and that is by design. Those aircraft are being repositioned for search and rescue operations and inland evacuation of critical personnel and supplies. Ports along the Atlantic have likewise been ordered closed and vessels redirected or recalled. The shipping industry is reporting that approximately 1,400 cargo vessels are currently at sea in the Atlantic. Rerouting them is underway, but will not be complete before impact. Maritime authorities are urging all vessels to move to deep water, the mid-ocean, where the tsunami's wave height, though still dangerous, is significantly reduced compared to what will hit the shallow coastal shelves. The global communications infrastructure is under severe strain. Internet traffic is at 160% of historical peak capacity. Several regional telecom providers in Portugal, Brazil, and the eastern United States have reported network outages or severe degradation. Social media platforms have suspended standard service and are routing all bandwidth to emergency channels.
We have an update on Carla from Lisbon, who wrote to us earlier about her husband at sea. Her sister has written in to say that Carla's husband, whose name is Tomás, has been reached by the Portuguese Navy. He is aboard his vessel and is being escorted with a group of other fishing boats to deeper water, which is actually the safer position for small vessels during a tsunami event. Carla, if you are watching, Tomás is alive and he is being looked after. Hold on to that. We are also receiving messages from people in the United Kingdom where there is considerable anxiety about what a North Atlantic impact means for the British coastline. A viewer named James from Cardiff, Wales writes, "We're not being told to evacuate, but the sea is right there. Should we leave?" James, the latest modeling from the UK's National Risk Assessment Office, which was published 20 minutes ago, indicates that southwestern England and Wales face a significant but secondary wave surge, estimated at 8 to 15 meters at coastline, arriving approximately 4 to 5 hours after impact. Official evacuation orders for coastal Wales and Cornwall have since been issued. James, please go now. Move inland, move to high ground, and take neighbors who may not have seen this broadcast.
We are 4 hours in. I have new casualty data, and I need to share it with you with full transparency, even though these numbers are deeply difficult to hear. In the initial hours of panic, before evacuation orders were fully organized, there have been reported deaths related to crowd surges and traffic incidents. Brazilian emergency services are reporting at least 68 confirmed deaths in Salvador and Recife from evacuation-related accidents, highway pileups, stampedes in bus terminals, and at least one structural collapse at an overcrowded train station. In the United States, the Florida Highway Patrol is reporting 31 confirmed deaths on Interstate 75 and Interstate 95 related to collisions in the evacuation traffic. Spain has reported 14 deaths in the coastal provinces of Cádiz and Huelva. These are the numbers we can confirm right now. We expect them to rise. I want to be clear. These deaths are occurring before the impact. They are the human cost of the panic itself, and they underscore how critical it is that people remain as calm as possible during evacuation. Because the most dangerous thing you can do right now, statistically, is run in a crowd without a plan.
And I want to speak directly to that, Alex, because I know how hard it is to hear "stay calm" when your world is ending and your children are crying and you cannot find your car keys. Staying calm does not mean feeling nothing. It means making decisions in spite of the fear rather than because of it. If you are on a highway and traffic is stopped and you have children in the car and you are within 100 kilometers of the coast, seriously consider whether you can move faster on foot toward high ground than in the car. Many emergency management experts are now saying exactly that. Take water. Take your medications. Take your identification. Help the person next to you who looks lost. In San Juan, Puerto Rico, which has been ordered to full evacuation, neighbors are being reported forming human chains to help elderly residents down apartment stairwells. In Recife, a group of teenage boys has apparently organized themselves into an informal runner network, carrying messages between neighborhoods whose phone signals have dropped. These are the moments, the small, unreported, uncelebrated moments that define what human beings are. Please be that person for whoever is standing next to you.
6 hours in. The United Nations Security Council has convened an emergency session, the first ever held remotely via secure satellite link with all 15 member nations simultaneously. The Secretary General has issued the following statement, which was released 14 minutes ago. This event transcends all geopolitical division. Every nation on this council has pledged full cooperation of military, emergency, and civil resources. We call on all citizens to obey the instructions of their local emergency authorities. We call on all governments to share resources, roads, and shelter without condition. The statement ends there. No other policy direction was given, which reflects the reality that there is no policy playbook for this. FEMA in the United States has activated all 10 of its regional emergency coordination centers. The U.S. military has deployed over 200,000 National Guard troops to evacuation corridors along the eastern seaboard. The governments of Portugal, Spain, and Morocco have jointly established an inland refugee corridor through the Iberian Plateau toward Madrid, which is currently receiving an estimated 60,000 displaced coastal residents per hour. Madrid's population is effectively doubling.
We are receiving a message from a school teacher named Miriam, who is in a community center in Seville, Spain, about 70 kilometers from the coast. She writes, "I have 43 children here with me. Their parents sent them to school this morning not knowing any of this would happen. I have reached the parents of 29 of them. I cannot reach the others. We have food and water for 2 days. We are safe for now. I am reading to them. We are going to be okay. Miriam, you are remarkable. You are doing exactly the right thing. The Spanish Ministry of Education has set up a national child locator hotline. We will display that number on screen continuously. To every parent who is separated from a child at a school or in the care of another adult, your child is being looked after. Teachers and community workers all over the world right now are exactly like Miriam, and they are holding on.
8 hours in. The casualty figures have risen. We now have confirmed reports of deaths from evacuation-related incidents across the following countries. United States, 241 confirmed. Brazil, 317 confirmed. Portugal, 89 confirmed. Spain, 112 confirmed. Morocco, an estimated 140, though communications in some coastal towns have been severed, and those figures are unverified. The total confirmed death toll at this hour stands at approximately 1,031. I want to emphasize, these are all pre-impact deaths. All of them are from the evacuation response. None of them are from the asteroid itself. The impact is still 16 hours away. The global medical community has issued an alert that hospitals and emergency medical services along evacuation corridors are already overwhelmed. The World Health Organization is airlifting medical supply convoys to relief staging areas in central Spain, central Brazil's Minas Gerais state, and the Appalachian region of the eastern United States.
10 hours in. And I need to stop for a moment. Alex and I have now been on air for 10 consecutive hours, and the entire ChannelX team has been at their stations this entire time, and I want to say something that is perhaps unusual for a news broadcast. I am afraid too. I live 40 minutes from the coast. My parents are inland now. They left 6 hours ago, and they called me when they arrived. I am grateful for that. I am grateful for every viewer who has taken their loved ones and moved. I want you to know that what you are feeling right now, this strange mixture of terror and love and a kind of terrible clarity about what matters, is not weakness. It is the most human you have ever been. Across the globe, people are doing extraordinary things. In Rio de Janeiro, a convoy of 300 privately owned vehicles has organized itself into a volunteer evacuation train, shuttling elderly residents from coastal favelas to inland shelters. In New York City, the residents of Upper Manhattan have opened their apartment buildings to strangers from Lower Manhattan and the Bronx waterfront. People are sleeping in hallways and stairwells, and they are sharing their food, and they are not arguing.
We are 12 hours in. Half the window has elapsed. At this point, I want to address the question we have been receiving most in our viewer messages. What will the impact actually look and feel like for people who are not in the direct impact zone? Here is the scientific picture. The asteroid will enter Earth's atmosphere over the North Atlantic and reach the ocean surface within approximately 8 seconds of atmospheric entry. The initial explosion will be visible as an extraordinarily bright flash from the entire Atlantic basin, from Scandinavia to southern Africa, and from the eastern United States to Western Europe. The shockwave traveling through the air will reach the British Isles in roughly 10 minutes, the Iberian Peninsula in approximately 12 to 15 minutes, and the eastern coast of the United States in roughly 15 to 20 minutes. Windows will shatter across a radius of nearly 2,000 kilometers. The seismic wave will register globally. Every seismograph on Earth will spike simultaneously. Then, within 1 to 2 hours, the first tsunami waves will begin reaching the shallow coastal shelves of the Atlantic. Those waves, at their projected height of 40 to 80 meters at landfall for the nearest coastlines, will inundate everything within 5 to 20 kilometers of shore, depending on local geography.
We now have a message from the Prime Minister of Portugal, who recorded a video statement approximately 30 minutes ago. The statement reads in part, "To every Portuguese citizen, whether you have reached safety or you are still in motion, You have acted with courage and with dignity. Portugal has faced earthquakes and floods and empire and war, and Portugal endures. Whatever the coming hours bring, we endure together. That statement has been echoed in tone by the presidents of Brazil, France, whose Atlantic territories in French Guiana and Martinique are in the impact zone's secondary wave path, and by the governors of 9 U.S. coastal states. There is, I think, something profound happening in the language of these leaders tonight. They are not pretending. They are not offering false comfort. They are speaking to their people as adults, and people are responding in kind.
14 hours in. I have updated impact modeling data from the Global Asteroid Monitoring Consortium's latest release, published 30 minutes ago. The trajectory has been confirmed with no meaningful deviation from the original projection. Impact will occur in approximately 10 hours and 7 minutes. The impact site remains the central North Atlantic, southwest of the Azores. I can now also confirm that the Azores Islands themselves, all 9 major islands, have been fully evacuated. The Portuguese Air Force completed the final evacuation flights out of the archipelago 4 hours ago. Those islands, geographically, are unlikely to survive the impact in their current form. The seismic and thermal violence of a 1.3-kilometer impactor striking ocean at 22 kilometers per second at that proximity will almost certainly result in the partial or complete destruction of the volcanic island chain. We are also receiving new data about the anticipated atmospheric effects. Scientists are now projecting that the impact ejecta, material thrown into the upper atmosphere by the explosion, will form a stratospheric dust layer of sufficient density to reduce global solar radiation by approximately 15 to 20% for a period of 6 months to 2 years. This is the secondary catastrophe. Crops, temperature, the long shadow of this event will outlast the wave.
16 hours in. In what has become one of the most reported stories emerging from this crisis, I want to tell you about a man named Heinrich Bauer, a 78-year-old retired engineer in Hamburg, Germany. Hamburg, on the North Sea, is far enough from the Atlantic coast that it does not face direct tsunami risk, but the city has been receiving tens of thousands of displaced people from the Netherlands' North Sea coast. Heinrich, according to a report filed by a Hamburg radio journalist, has opened his home and the homes of 4 of his neighbors, having knocked on every door on his street to shelter 14 displaced families. He has organized his neighbors to cook 3 collective meals. His comment to the radio journalist was this: "My wife and I built this house 40 years ago. Whatever happens tomorrow, at least it will have been full of people tonight." That is Heinrich Bauer, 78 years old, Hamburg, Germany. I want you to remember his name.
17 hours in. The global casualty picture continues to evolve upward. We now have confirmed pre-impact deaths as follows: United States, 602 confirmed, Brazil, 911 confirmed, Portugal, 243 confirmed, Spain, 388 confirmed, Morocco, an estimated 415, still partially unverified. United Kingdom, 47, primarily from accidents and 1 cardiac event at an evacuation center. Canary Islands, 11, Cape Verde, 32. Total confirmed and estimated pre-impact global fatalities now stand at approximately 2,648. Additionally, the world's financial markets, stock exchanges in New York, London, Frankfurt, Tokyo, have suspended trading by emergency order. The global supply chain is already in acute disruption. Multiple container shipping companies have declared force majeure on all contracts. The insurance industry has announced it cannot and will not process claims related to this event under existing policy frameworks. That is a significant economic statement with enormous long-term consequences for recovery efforts.
18 hours in. I want to read you something that was sent to us by a man named David Park, who is a pastor at a small congregation in Charleston, South Carolina. He and his congregation evacuated 8 hours ago to a church camp in the hills of North Carolina. He writes, "We have 81 people here, 4 different faiths. Nobody argued about anything. We prayed together in 4 languages, and then we ate dinner and the children played cards. I have been a pastor for 30 years, and I have never felt so clearly that whatever God is, it is in the room when people choose each other." David Park, South Carolina. A viewer in Sao Paulo, far enough inland to be safe from the direct wave, writes to say that her city has taken in approximately 200,000 coastal refugees in the past 12 hours. "Our city is breaking," she writes, "but not our hearts."
19 hours in. 5 hours until impact. The military picture. The United States Navy's Atlantic Fleet has been repositioned entirely to open deep ocean coordinates. The aircraft carrier USS Gerald R. Ford and her battle group are currently approximately 3,000 kilometers from the projected impact site, which is considered a survivable position for naval vessels in deep water. All 17 Atlantic NATO nations have coordinated their naval assets similarly. These vessels will serve as the first emergency response platforms following the impact: search and rescue, supply distribution, communications relay. The Russian government has offered full use of its Arctic rescue infrastructure for any post-impact operations in northern latitudes. China has pre-positioned 12 hospital ships in the South Atlantic, west of Africa, to respond to the African coastal aftermath. These are genuine acts of international coordination. The world's militaries, for the first time in history, are aligned in a single direction, not at each other, but at something coming from space.
20 hours in. 4 hours to go. Many of you have been writing to ask whether you should say goodbye to people, whether you should write letters, whether you should call someone you haven't spoken to in years. My answer to all of those questions is yes. Yes. Whatever happened, whatever the argument was, whatever the silence was, none of it matters at this precise moment on this precise night. Call them. Say the thing you have been meaning to say. A viewer from Auckland, New Zealand, which faces no direct impact risk but is watching as the rest of the world holds its breath, writes simply, "Watching from the other side of the world, we are with you, all of us, with all of you." That is a beautiful thing to say. From the southern Pacific Ocean, someone is watching and choosing not to look away. That is fellowship. That is what we are.
21 hours in. 3 hours until impact. The evacuation picture is as complete as it is going to get. No further large-scale movement is possible in the remaining time. People who are in safe locations, and the majority of Atlantic coastal residents who received orders have complied and moved, should remain where they are. Do not attempt to travel during or for at least 6 hours after the impact event. The shock wave, the seismic activity, and the tsunami will make all roads and coastal areas categorically lethal. I want to give you a geographic summary of expected outcomes. For the eastern United States seaboard, modeling suggests inundation of coastal areas up to 5 to 15 kilometers inland in low-lying zones. This includes significant portions of Miami, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, portions of coastal New Jersey and Long Island, and southern portions of Boston Harbor. These areas will be underwater. The population, largely evacuated, is projected to survive. The infrastructure, bridges, ports, power stations, water treatment plants, will not.
22 hours in. 2 hours. I want to tell you about the last transmission we received from a Coast Guard cutter operating near the Azores before their communications array went down. The commanding officer of the vessel, a 34-year-old woman named Lieutenant Commander Rosa Ferreira, sent a brief message to the Coast Guard Maritime Coordination Center in Lisbon. It read, We are in position, all crew present. We have done our work. We are proud. Tell our families. That transmission was received 40 minutes ago. The vessel is in deep water position and is considered to have a survivable chance. Lieutenant Commander Ferreira and her crew are professionals who chose to remain at sea to ensure every fishing vessel in their sector was redirected. We do not know yet what will happen to them. What we know is that they chose. I think about that a lot in these hours. Every person who had a choice and chose the harder, braver thing.
23 hours in. 1 hour and 9 minutes remaining. I am going to read you the final pre-impact scientific summary as concisely as I can. 1.3 kilometer asteroid, designate 2025-Phi K14, impact in 69 minutes, entry velocity approximately 22 kilometers per second, impact coordinates, approximately 36.4 degrees north, 34.8 degrees west, North Atlantic Ocean. Initial fireball diameter, approximately 80 kilometers. Crater or impact depression on ocean floor, estimated 2 to 4 kilometers deep, 12 to 15 kilometers diameter. Initial tsunami wave height at origin, estimated 150 to 300 meters, reducing significantly with distance. Estimated wave arrival times. Azores, not applicable. Destroyed. Canary Islands, evacuated. 90% destruction of surface structures projected. Western Morocco and Portugal. Waves of 40 to 80 meters arriving approximately 1 hour 40 minutes after impact. Eastern United States. Waves of 15 to 35 meters arriving approximately 3 hours after impact. Western Africa from Mauritania to Ghana. Waves of 20 to 50 meters arriving approximately 2 hours after impact. United Kingdom and France. Secondary waves of 8 to 20 meters arriving 4 to 6 hours after impact.
45 minutes now. I want to say, on behalf of everyone at ChannelX, we are grateful you are here. In the coming minutes, you may lose power. You may lose signal. If you do, please find your battery radio, find your neighbors, find your children, hold them close. You have done the right things. Most of you are safe. What is coming is terrible, and the world will be changed, but it will not end. Humanity has endured ice ages and plagues and famines and wars of unimaginable violence, and we are still here, still reaching toward each other across every possible distance. Whatever comes next, we rebuild. That is what we do. That is all we do. We find the people next to us and we rebuild.
30 minutes. We are going to remain on air for as long as our signal holds. Our broadcast infrastructure is on backup power. If we go dark, it will be temporary. We will come back. I want to say one thing clearly to every viewer watching. Be away from windows during impact. The atmospheric shock wave will be powerful enough to shatter glass across a radius of approximately 1,500 kilometers from the impact site. If you are within that zone, which includes most of the eastern United States, all of Western Europe, and all of Western Africa, be in an interior room, away from glass, low to the floor, from the moment of the flash until the shock wave passes. You will likely have approximately 10 to 15 seconds from the time you see the flash until the wave reaches you. Use those seconds. Get down.
10 minutes. I have just received a brief message from Miriam in Seville, the teacher with 43 children. She writes, "We are all in the hallway, all 43. I have them singing. Miriam, you are everything."
5 minutes. The instruments tracking 2025-VK14 are still painting a clean trajectory. No deviation. This is happening. To every astronomer who tracked this object, to every emergency coordinator who stayed at their desk, to every truck driver who kept driving supplies inland, to every nurse who did not leave their patient, thank you. The world is watching. Hold on.
Hold on.
We are back. We lost signal during the shockwave event. Our building sustained window damage on 3 floors. No injuries to staff. It is now 41 minutes past impact. I am going to give you everything we have confirmed in the order it has come. In 2025-5K14, struck the North Atlantic Ocean at the projected coordinates at the projected time. The impact has occurred. The fireball was observed from every Atlantic-facing coastline on the planet. Our cameras in coastal Portugal, which were running on battery-powered remote feeds, captured the horizon flash before going offline. The flash lasted approximately 4 seconds and was described by observers as brighter than daylight. The atmospheric shock wave reached Lisbon's coordinates approximately 13 minutes after impact and shattered every remaining window in coastal structures. Seismographs worldwide have registered the impact as a magnitude 9.8 seismic event, the largest ever recorded. The tsunami system is now in motion. First waves are estimated to reach the Moroccan and Portuguese coastlines within 58 minutes from now. Any person still on those coastlines, and we know, despite everything, that some remained, has 58 minutes.
We have regained contact with some of our remote correspondents. A ChannelX field journalist based in a hotel in Évora, Portugal, approximately 150 kilometers from the coast on high ground, reports that the shockwave buckled the hotel walls, cracked the ceiling, and blew the shutters off every window facing west. She describes the sky to the west as, and I am reading her exact words, a color I have no name for, somewhere between orange and white, like the inside of the sun if you could see it with your eyes open. It lasted 4 seconds, and then the darkness came back and the sound hit us like a wall falling inward. Our correspondent and her team are uninjured. Her report will continue as the wave approaches the coast.
2 hours post-impact. The first tsunami wave has made landfall. I am going to deliver this information directly and without softening it, because you deserve to know. The first recorded wave struck the western coast of Morocco, specifically the coastline near Agadir, at an estimated height of 62 meters at landfall. Agadir's coastal district, evacuated in advance, has been completely destroyed. The wave traveled approximately 8 kilometers inland along the Sousse River Valley before losing its inundation height. The city of Agadir, the majority of its population successfully evacuated, is partially to heavily destroyed. Portuguese coastal cities have now been struck. Cascais, Setúbal, and the lower estuary neighborhoods of Lisbon received wave heights of 48 to 71 meters. The Tagus River corridor channeled a surge approximately 15 kilometers into the Lisbon metropolitan area. The iconic Ponte 25 de Abril Bridge has collapsed. The Belém Coastal District, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is gone. The population, overwhelmingly evacuated, survived. The places did not.
3 hours post-impact. We are receiving fragmented communications from various points. I want to share what we know about the human story of these hours. In the shelter camps established across the Iberian interior, in Évora, Badajoz, Cáceres, and Salamanca, hundreds of thousands of evacuees are safe and being housed in sports facilities, schools, and private homes. The Red Cross has confirmed that its Emergency Coordination Center in Madrid is processing approximately 40,000 evacuee check-ins per hour. The family reunification system is operating. People are finding each other. A viewer messages us from a shelter in Badajoz, Spain. I found my mother here 20 minutes ago. She walked for 6 hours to get here. She is 81 years old and she walked for 6 hours. She is eating soup right now and she keeps touching my face. Hold on to each other.
5 hours post-impact. Wave systems are now reaching the United States eastern coastline. Preliminary reports indicate wave heights of 22 to 38 meters at landfall along the Florida coast. Miami's evacuated coastal zones have been struck by waves that penetrated approximately 4 to 7 kilometers inland. The barrier islands, Miami Beach, Virginia Key, are gone. Cape Canaveral, NASA's historic launch facility, is reporting catastrophic structural damage. Moving north, the Outer Banks of North Carolina have been effectively submerged. The waves diminish somewhat to the north, but Boston Harbor is reporting a 12-meter surge, and Manhattan's lower tip, Battery Park, the financial district, has been inundated to a depth of approximately 7 meters. The Brooklyn Battery Tunnel and the Holland Tunnel are submerged. Every coastal structure below Canal Street on the island of Manhattan is underwater. The population of Lower Manhattan evacuated successfully. The buildings are standing in many cases, but they are in the sea. New York City, one of the great cities of civilization, has its feet in the Atlantic Ocean tonight.
8 hours post-impact. There is so much still coming in, and I want to make sure we stay with the human part of this. We know that not everyone evacuated. We know that some people refused to leave. Some stayed to care for animals they couldn't transport. Some were bedridden and couldn't be moved in time. Some simply didn't believe it until it was too late or lived too close to the coast to outpace a 60-meter wave on foot. We are going to be telling stories of loss for years. The deaths that occurred in the direct wave impact zones are still being estimated, but the numbers are coming in, and I will let Alex address those directly.
12 hours post-impact. We now have preliminary casualty modeling from the International Emergency Response Coordination Center, which is operating out of Geneva. These are estimates. Final numbers will not be confirmed for weeks or months. But the preliminary global death toll from the impact and its direct effects stands at approximately 114,000. That number is expected to rise as search and rescue teams access flooded zones. The breakdown by major region: United States Eastern Seaboard, approximately 18,000, with the majority in areas where evacuation was incomplete. Brazil's northeastern coastline, approximately 22,000, the largest single-nation toll, partly a function of population density and the partial collapse of evacuation logistics in the final hours. Morocco and West Africa combined, approximately 31,000. Portugal and Spain combined, approximately 11,000. United Kingdom, approximately 8,000, concentrated in coastal Wales and Cornwall. French Atlantic coast and territories, approximately 9,000. Other Atlantic nations combined, approximately 15,000. 114,000 human beings. That number would have been in the millions without the evacuation response, without the 24 hours of warning, without every coordinator and officer and teacher and driver who did their job. 114,000 could have been 114 million.
14 hours post-impact. We are approaching the point where I need to speak to you about what comes next, because recovery is already beginning. In Portugal, the government has issued its first post-impact communique. The country is intact. The coastal cities are heavily damaged or destroyed. The interior is whole. The people are alive. Reconstruction will begin within 72 hours. Spain, Morocco, the United States, Brazil, all have issued similar statements. The United Nations has activated the largest international relief fund in its history, with immediate pledges totaling $480 billion from member nations. China, Russia, the United States, the European Union, India, and Japan have all committed military engineering units, medical teams, and supply convoys. The world is turning toward the Atlantic coast the way a person turns toward someone who has been hurt, with hands open.
20 hours post-impact. We are now able to give you a comprehensive final picture of the world in the aftermath of the impact of 2025-5K14. The Azores Islands have been partially destroyed. The 3 westernmost islands are gone or reduced to sea level rubble. The remaining 6 islands sustained severe damage. The Canary Islands, fully evacuated, sustained 90% surface structural destruction and will require years of rebuilding before being habitable. These island populations are alive, relocated to mainland Spain and Portugal. The Atlantic coastlines of 4 continents have been fundamentally reshaped. In total, an estimated 6,200 square kilometers of previously inhabited coastal land is now permanently inundated, below sea level or structurally uninhabitable. That is larger than the entire nation of Luxembourg. The people who lived there are alive. The land is gone. There will be no returning to those specific addresses. There will be new cities, built inland, built higher, built with the memory of this night in every stone.
22 hours post-impact. And what of the world? Let me tell you what the world looks like right now, because I think it's important to say this plainly. The world is wounded, and the world is standing. 114,000 people died. We carry them. Every name, when they are known, will be read aloud somewhere. There are coast-to-coast tent cities in the American interior. There are camps on the Castilian plateau where Portuguese and Moroccan and Spanish families are eating together and sharing blankets. There are hundreds of ships from a dozen nations converging on the Atlantic to begin rescue and recovery. There are engineers in Geneva and Tokyo and Sao Paulo already designing the surge barriers and the early warning satellites and the coastal rebuilding protocols that will come next. There are children in a community center in Seville who fell asleep listening to a teacher read to them, and those children are alive.
To conclude this broadcast, I want to give you the complete picture with full clarity. The final confirmed global death toll from the impact of Asteroid 2025-5K14 and all related events, including pre-impact evacuation fatalities and post-impact wave deaths, stands at 117,263 people. This figure has been confirmed by the International Emergency Response Coordination Center and will not significantly change. Every Atlantic coastal nation remains a functioning sovereign state. No government has collapsed. No city has been permanently abandoned. The affected populations are displaced and housed in inland emergency facilities. The global communications infrastructure, while severely strained, is operational. Power is being restored to inland areas. Food supply chains, while disrupted, are not broken. Emergency reserves are sufficient for immediate needs across all affected regions. The stratospheric dust layer introduced by the impact will produce measurable but manageable global cooling over the next 12 to 24 months, reducing crop yields by an estimated 8 to 12% globally. This will require significant agricultural adjustment and emergency food distribution, but it is a solvable problem. Humanity is not facing extinction. Humanity is facing its largest collective reconstruction challenge since the Second World War.
And here's what I believe. And what 24 hours of watching the best of human beings under the worst conditions has shown me. We will do it. We will rebuild the ports and the roads and the hospitals and the cities. We will plant the new crops and build the new seawalls and design the new early warning systems so that if something like 2025-VK14 ever approaches again, we will see it years earlier and we will be ready. We will do all of that. But more than any of it, more than the infrastructure and the logistics and the economics, we will carry the names of 117,000 people, and we will build in their honor. The coast of Portugal will be rebuilt. The coast of Morocco will be rebuilt. Miami and Recife and Lisbon and all the beautiful, wounded, battered places will come back. Not the same, but alive. The world has been changed by tonight. It has not been ended. We will greet tomorrow with hands full of work and hearts full of the people we hold, and we will begin.
This has been a ChannelX emergency broadcast. My name is Alex Mercer.
And my name is Sierra Lane. We have been with you for 24 hours. We are grateful for every one of them. Take care of each other.
Good morning.